Elizabeth Carter stared out the viewport of the escape pod. Her infant daughter Maya clutched tightly against her chest. The vastness of space stretched before her, broken only by the distant twinkle of stars and the fading silhouette of the merchant vessel that had just ejected her. Her face was bruised, her ribs ached with each breath, and dried blood crusted at the corner of her split lip. The small pod drifted aimlessly through the emptiness. Elizabeth touched the control panel with trembling fingers, trying once again to send a distress signal. Nothing happened. The communication system was damaged beyond repair. The life support indicator blinked with a warning light. Barely 7 days of air, water, and heat remained. Just 3 days ago, she had been the ship's botanist on the cargo vessel Aurora, responsible for maintaining the hydroponics bay that supplied fresh food for the 20-person crew during long space voyages. Elizabeth had loved her job, creating life among the stars, watching plants thrive under her care even as they traveled between distant planets. Maya had been a favorite among the crew, her baby giggles bringing smiles to even the most hardened space travelers. That life seemed like a distant dream now. Elizabeth shifted Maya to her other arm, wincing as pain shot through her bruised side. The baby whimpered softly before settling again into sleep, unaware of their desperate situation. "Shh. It's okay," Elizabeth whispered, though her words were meant to comfort herself as much as her daughter. It had started when she noticed strange power fluctuations in the hydroponics bay. Plants were dying without clear cause. Following the unusual energy signatures, Elizabeth discovered a hidden compartment behind the food storage units. Inside were 10 large metal containers with warning labels and security locks. She wasn't supposed to find them. They weren't on any cargo manifest. Elizabeth had taken pictures with her datapad and checked the ship's database. What she found made her stomach drop. Experimental terraforming technology, banned in all settled systems. Technology that could rewrite the genetic code of entire ecosystems in days. Technology that could be weaponized to destroy whole planets. She had gone straight to Captain Doyle, believing he must not know about the dangerous cargo his ship carried. "Captain, I found something in Cargo Bay 3 you need to see," she had said, standing at attention in his office, her datapad clutched in her hand. "Illegal terraforming tech, the kind that's banned in every system." The captain's face had remained perfectly calm as he looked at her evidence. Too calm. "And who else have you told about this discovery, Carter?" he had asked quietly. "No one yet, sir. I came straight to you." Captain Doyle had nodded, then pressed a button on his desk. "Security to my office." That was when Elizabeth realized her mistake. The coldness in his eyes told her everything. He wasn't surprised by her discovery. He had known all along. 2 security officers had arrived, men she had eaten meals with, joked with. Men who now looked at her with empty eyes. "Take Ms. Carter to holding. Make sure she understands the importance of ship security and confidentiality." The beating had been quick but thorough, professional. They knew how to cause pain without leaving evidence that couldn't be explained away as an accident. When they were done, they dragged her to her quarters. "Pack a bag for you and the kid." "1 bag. You have 10 minutes, one of them had said, standing in the doorway with his hand on his stun baton. Elizabeth had moved quickly despite her pain, grabbing essentials for Maya. Formula, diapers, the small stuffed rabbit she loved. For herself, she took only a change of clothes and her emergency medical kit. She had slipped her datapad with the evidence into the lining of Maya's baby blanket when the guard wasn't looking. They had marched her through empty corridors to the escape pod bay. The ship had been strangely quiet. "No witnesses. Captain says to tell you this is your stop," the second guard had said, shoving her into the small pod. "Should have minded your own business, Carter." The door had sealed with a hiss, and moments later the pod had ejected with a violent jolt that sent Elizabeth tumbling against the padded wall, Maya wailing in her arms. Now, 20 hours later, the Aurora was gone, jumped to hyperspace and untraceable. Earth was light years away. The nearest outpost was in the opposite direction. No one knew where she was. Elizabeth looked down at her sleeping daughter and felt hot tears spill down her cheeks. She brushed them away quickly. Crying wouldn't help them survive. She carefully placed Maya in the small sleeping compartment built into the wall of the pod and strapped her in securely. Then she began a systematic check of their supplies. The pod was designed for emergency evacuations, not long-term survival. There was enough baby formula for Maya for about 2 weeks if she rationed carefully. Food packs for Elizabeth would last 9 days. Water recycling was working, so that wasn't an immediate concern. The navigation system showed they were drifting through an unmarked sector of space. No planets, no stations, no regularly traveled routes nearby. Elizabeth sat in the pod's single seat and pulled up the emergency manual on the small screen. There had to be something she could do to extend the life support or boost the distress beacon. She wasn't going to give up without a fight. Hours passed as Elizabeth worked, trying every suggestion in the manual, even the desperate measures listed under last resorts. She managed to reroute power from non-essential systems to life support, buying them an extra day. But the communication system remained dead, the antenna array physically damaged during ejection. Maya woke hungry and crying. Elizabeth prepared a bottle and cradled her daughter, humming softly as the baby drank. In the harsh light of the pod, Maya's dark curls and round cheeks reminded Elizabeth of her late husband Paul, who had died in a mining accident before ever seeing his daughter. "Your daddy would be so proud of how brave you are," Elizabeth told Maya as she burped her. "And he would tell me to keep fighting, so that's what we'll do." Elizabeth placed Maya back in the sleeping compartment and returned to the control panel. If she could modify the pod's beacon to transmit on an unusual frequency, maybe someone would notice it as an anomaly, even if they weren't specifically scanning for distress signals. As she worked, a small light appeared in the distance outside, the viewport. At first, Elizabeth thought it was just another star, but it was moving, growing larger. A ship. Elizabeth pressed her face against the viewport, hardly daring to hope. The vessel was sleek and clearly expensive, unlike any commercial transport she had ever seen. It moved with precision, adjusting course directly toward the pod. For a moment, fear gripped her. What if Captain Doyle had sent someone to eliminate the evidence completely? But that made no sense. He could have simply killed them on the Aurora. The ship drew closer, its polished hull reflecting starlight. Elizabeth could make out the name painted on its side, Artemis. A message flashed on the pod's screen. "Escape pod identified. Prepare for retrieval. Stand clear of the hatch." Elizabeth quickly gathered Maya in her arms, holding her close as the pod shuddered. There was a metallic clang as the larger ship made contact. The hatch indicator turned from red to green. "This is either rescue or more trouble," Elizabeth whispered to Maya. "Either way, we face it together." She took a deep breath and pressed the button to open the hatch. The hatch opened with a soft hiss. Elizabeth held Maya tightly against her chest and stepped back, unsure what to expect on the other side. A man stood in the connecting airlock. He was tall, with broad shoulders and salt and pepper hair that framed a face marked by laugh lines around the eyes. He wore a simple but clearly expensive dark blue suit that seemed oddly formal for space travel. Behind him stood 2 people in medical uniforms. "Elizabeth Carter?" the man asked, his voice deep and surprisingly gentle. "And little Maya, I presume?" Elizabeth tensed. "How do you know our names?" The man smiled. "Your pod's registration data. I'm William Grant. This is my ship, the Artemis." He gestured to the medical staff. "My team would like to check you both, make sure you're okay. William Grant." The name sounded familiar, but Elizabeth couldn't place it. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. They had no choice. The pod's life support was failing and Maya needed proper care. "We mean you no harm," William added, seeming to sense her fear. "You're safe now." The female doctor stepped forward with a scanner. "May I?" "Just checking vital signs." Elizabeth nodded again, watching carefully as the scanner passed over Maya. The device beeped softly. "The little one is dehydrated but otherwise healthy," the doctor said with a smile. Then she turned the scanner toward Elizabeth. Her smile faded. "You need treatment. several bruised ribs, facial contusions, possible internal bleeding. The baby first, Elizabeth insisted. William Grant stepped aside. Of course. Please, come aboard. They led her through a short corridor into what was clearly a luxury vessel. The medical bay they entered was better equipped than most colonial hospitals Elizabeth had seen. Clean white surfaces, advanced equipment, and a view of stars through a large viewport. Please lie down, the doctor urged, pointing to a bed. I'm Dr. Stephanie Adams. This is Dr. Lee. She nodded toward her colleague, who was already preparing a formula bottle for Maya. I can't, Elizabeth began, clutching Maya closer. William stepped forward. Ms. Carter, I understand your caution, but you need medical attention. Dr. Lee is excellent with children. He has 3 of his own. Maya will be just across the room, where you can see her the entire time. Elizabeth's legs felt weak suddenly. The adrenaline that had kept her going was fading. She looked into William's eyes, searching for any sign of deception. Why did you rescue us? She asked. We detected your pod during a sensor test. No one deserves to be left adrift in space. He paused, especially not with injuries like yours. Those weren't from an accident, were they? Elizabeth shook her head slowly. No. We can discuss what happened after you've rested. You have my word that you and Maya are safe here. Something in his steady gaze convinced her. Elizabeth carefully handed Maya to Dr. Lee, who immediately began speaking softly to the baby. Then she allowed Dr. Adams to help her onto the medical bed. This will help with the pain, Dr. Adams said, pressing a device against Elizabeth's neck. Cool relief spread through her body almost instantly. Elizabeth's eyes grew heavy. The last thing she saw before drifting to sleep was Dr. Lee gently feeding Maya, while William Grant looked on with concern. When Elizabeth woke, she felt remarkably better. The sharp pain in her ribs had dulled to a minor ache. She sat up quickly, looking around the room. Maya? Right here, came William's voice. He sat in a chair near the bed, holding Maya, who was happily playing with a small toy. She's been fed, changed, and seems quite content. Elizabeth reached for her daughter, and William carefully handed her over. Maya gurgled happily, recognizing her mother. How long was I asleep? Elizabeth asked. About 6 hours. Dr. Adams wanted to let you rest. After treating your injuries, Elizabeth touched her side gingerly. The bruising was still there, but the pain was manageable. Thank you, she said quietly. For rescuing us, for the medical care. William nodded. You're welcome. Though I admit, I'm curious how a botanist and her baby ended up in an escape pod in an empty sector of space. Elizabeth looked up sharply. How did you know I'm a botanist? Your credentials were in the pod's registry. Standard emergency protocol includes basic information about passengers. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Elizabeth, someone hurt you deliberately and left you to die. As the owner of this vessel, I need to report this to the proper authorities. Elizabeth hesitated, then made a decision. She explained everything, discovering the illegal terraforming technology, confronting Captain Doyle, the beating, being ejected in the pod. William's expression darkened as she spoke. When she finished, he stood and paced near the viewport. Weaponized terraforming tech, he said grimly. Do you know what planet they were targeting? I heard them mention Harmony Colony when they thought I was unconscious. William stopped pacing. Harmony? 10,000 settlers, mostly families. He turned to face her. Did you manage to save any proof? Elizabeth smiled for the first time. Yes. She reached for Maya's blanket and carefully pulled apart the stitching in one corner. She removed her small data pad. Everything I found. Shipping manifests, container codes, images. William took the data pad, his eyes widening as he scrolled through the information. This is comprehensive. You took quite a risk gathering. I didn't know it was a risk at the time, Elizabeth admitted. I thought the captain would be upset about illegal cargo on his ship. I didn't realize he was part of it. William returned the data pad to her. Elizabeth, do you know who I am? She shook her head. William Grant, founder and CEO of Grant Interstellar Industries. Now Elizabeth understood why his name had seemed familiar. Grant Interstellar was one of the largest companies in the galaxy, specializing in sustainable habitat development and safe terraforming technologies. The company your captain was working with is one of my competitors, William continued. A corporation called Terra Nova. They've been trying to undercut my company for years, but I never imagined they would go this far. What will happen now? Elizabeth asked. First, you and Maya will rest and recover here on the Artemis. You're welcome to stay as long as needed. William's expression became determined. Meanwhile, I'll alert the Interplanetary Security Force about this evidence. The ISF takes illegal terraforming very seriously. Captain Doyle said he had friends in high places, Elizabeth warned. People who could make problems disappear. William's smile was grim. So do I, Ms. Carter, and my friends prefer justice to profit. He reached out and gently touched Maya's small hand. The baby grabbed his finger with surprising strength. No one threatens a child's future and gets away with it. Not while I have anything to say about it. For the first time since being forced into the escape pod, Elizabeth felt something like hope. She wasn't alone anymore. Now, William said, Dr. Adams tells me you should eat something substantial. There's a dining room through that door when you're ready. Take your time. He moved to leave, but Elizabeth called after him. Mr. Grant, thank you again. Not just for saving us, but for believing me. William paused at the door. Sometimes the most valuable discoveries happen when you least expect them, Ms. Carter. With that, he left Elizabeth alone with her daughter and her thoughts. The next 3 days on the Artemis passed quickly. Elizabeth's injuries healed under Dr. Adams' care, and Maya seemed to thrive in the comfortable surroundings. The luxury spaceship had everything they needed and more: fresh food, clean clothes, and safe quarters. Elizabeth stood at the large viewport in the ship's observation lounge, watching distant stars while Maya napped in a portable crib nearby. The door slid open, and William entered with a data tablet in hand. How are you feeling today? He asked, joining her at the viewport. Much better, Elizabeth replied. Almost no pain now. William nodded, pleased. Good. I've been in contact with the Interplanetary Security Force. They're very interested in your evidence. Have they found the Aurora yet? No. William's expression grew serious. But we've tracked Terra Nova's recent shipments. Based on the schedule in your data, the delivery to Harmony Colony is set for 3 days from now. Elizabeth turned to face him fully. So soon? We have to stop them. That's what I came to discuss. William activated his tablet, and a holographic star map appeared between them. The ISF wants to intercept the Aurora, but they have jurisdiction issues. The ship is currently in the Outer Rim territories, where laws are more flexible, Elizabeth said with a frown. Exactly. By the time they cut through the red tape, it will be too late. William zoomed in on a small planet glowing blue in the hologram. This is Harmony Colony, established 5 years ago, mostly farmers, some scientists studying the local ecosystem. Elizabeth leaned closer to the hologram. I've heard it's beautiful, like Earth was before the climate changes. It is. And if that terraforming technology is deployed there, everything unique about it will be destroyed. William shut off the hologram. The ISF can't move quickly enough, but we can. What do you mean? The Artemis is the fastest ship in my fleet. We can reach Harmony before the Aurora if we leave now. Elizabeth looked at him in surprise. You want to intercept them yourself? Isn't that dangerous? William smiled, slightly. I employ some of the best security specialists in the galaxy, former military, all of them. And the Artemis, despite its luxury appearance, is well armed. Why would you take such a risk for people you don't even know? William was quiet for a moment, looking out at the stars. My younger sister was one of the first settlers on Europa Colony. 20 years ago, a corporation tested illegal mining technology there. They said it was safe. His voice hardened. It wasn't. The colony was evacuated, but not before many people got sick. My sister never fully recovered. He turned back to Elizabeth. So yes, I would take this risk because I know what happens when profit matters more than people. Elizabeth nodded, understanding now. What's the plan? We arrive at Harmony a day before the aurora. We warn the colonists and prepare them for possible evacuation. When the aurora arrives, we confront them with evidence and the backing of the local colonial authority. William's eyes met hers. But I need your help. Me? What can I do? You know the aurora's layout. You understand the terraforming technology. And you can identify Captain Doyle and his crew. Elizabeth glanced at Maya, sleeping peacefully. What about my daughter? Dr. Adams has volunteered to care for her during any operations. Maya will be safe on the Artemis. William paused. I understand if you don't want to get involved further. You've already risked enough. Elizabeth thought about the families on Harmony Colony. Children like Maya whose lives would be destroyed by Terra Nova's actions. I'll help, she said firmly. Those people don't deserve what Terra Nova plans for. Them, William smiled. Thank you. I've already set course for Harmony. We'll arrive in approximately 36 hours. So fast? The Artemis has some special modifications. William's eyes twinkled. Being a billionaire has its advantages. They spent the next day preparing. William introduced Elizabeth to his security team. 6 men and women with serious expressions and confident movements. The team leader was a woman named Olivia Martinez, with short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Ms. Carter, Olivia said during their planning session, can you show us exactly where you found the terraforming containers? Elizabeth pointed to a section on the holographic map of the Aurora. Cargo Bay 3, hidden behind the regular food. Storage units. There's a false wall that slides open. Olivia nodded. And the crew quarters? How many security personnel does Captain Doyle employ? 4 that I know of. They all have quarters on deck 2 near the captain's cabin. They continued, planning, discussing entry points and contingencies. Elizabeth was impressed by the thoroughness of William's team. Nothing was left to chance. Later that evening, Elizabeth sat in her quarters, watching Maya play with a soft toy William had given her. The door chimed softly. Come in, she called. William entered, carrying a small case. I thought you might want this. He placed the case on the table and opened it. Inside was a sleek handheld device. What is it? Elizabeth asked. A portable scanner, programmed to detect the specific energy signature of the terraforming technology. If they've moved the containers, this will help us find them. Elizabeth picked up the device, studying it. This looks like military-grade equipment. It is. Or rather, it's based on military technology, but improved by my research team. William sat down across from her. It's simple to use, just press here and it will scan in a 30-meter radius. As Elizabeth examined the scanner, William watched Maya playing on the floor. She's a remarkable baby, he commented. So calm despite everything that's happened. Elizabeth smiled. She's always been that way, even on the Aurora. The crew used to say she had an old soul. What about her father? William asked gently. Is he dead? Elizabeth finished. Mining accident on Mars. 6 months before Maya was born. He never got to meet her. I'm sorry. Elizabeth put down the scanner. Thank you. We're managing. She looked at William curiously. What about you? Family. A shadow crossed his face. My parents died years ago. My sister lives on Earth now, in a special medical facility. I visit when I can. He paused. No wife. No children. My company keeps me busy. It must be lonely, Elizabeth said, surprising herself with her boldness. William smiled, but there was sadness in it, sometimes. But then there are moments like this when I can actually make a difference. Those make up for the lonely times. The ship's communication system activated. Mr. Grant, Olivia's voice came through. We're approaching the Harmony system. ETA 4 hours. William stood. Thank you, Olivia. I'll be on the bridge shortly. He turned to Elizabeth. You should get some rest. Tomorrow will be challenging. Elizabeth nodded. William, thank you for everything you're doing. He paused at the door. No need for thanks. Some things are simply the right thing to do. After he left, Elizabeth picked up Maya and held her close. Tomorrow they would confront Captain Doyle and stop Terra Nova's plan. She should have been terrified, but instead, she felt strangely confident. With William Grant and his team beside her, she believed they might actually succeed. Harmony Colony looked like a blue and green jewel as the Artemis approached. Elizabeth stood on the bridge beside William, watching the planet grow larger on the main screen. The colony itself was visible as tiny lights on the night side of the planet. It's beautiful, Elizabeth whispered. William nodded. One of the most successful new colonies. Perfect balance of earth plants and local life forms. Olivia Martinez approached them dressed in black tactical gear. Sir, we've made contact with Colony Governor Morgan. She's agreed to meet us immediately. And has ordered extra security at the spaceport. Good, William said. Any sign of the Aurora? No, sir. Our long-range scanners show no approaching vessels yet. William turned to Elizabeth. Are you ready? She nodded, though her stomach was tight with nerves. As ready as I'll be. Elizabeth had already said goodbye to Maya, leaving her in Dr. Adams's caring hands. The doctor had promised to keep the baby safe in the ship's most secure section. 30 minutes later, they sat in Governor Morgan's office in the colony's main administrative building. The governor was a tall woman with dark skin and braided hair streaked with gray. Her expression was serious as she reviewed the evidence on Elizabeth's datapad. This is very disturbing, Governor Morgan said finally. You're certain the Aurora is headed here? Yes, Elizabeth confirmed. I overheard them specifically mention Harmony. The governor looked at William. Mr. Grant, your reputation precedes you. If you say this threat is real, I believe you. She turned to her security chief, a broad-shouldered man standing nearby. Commander Fisher, implement Emergency Protocol 6. All ships entering our space must undergo full cargo inspection. Yes, Governor, Commander Fisher replied. What if they refuse inspection? Elizabeth asked. Then they will not be permitted to land, the governor said firmly. And if they attempt to deploy anything from orbit, our defense systems will respond. William leaned forward. Governor, if I may suggest, we should prepare for evacuation just in case. The technology they're carrying could devastate the ecosystem within hours if deployed. Governor Morgan nodded grimly. I'll alert our emergency response teams, but evacuating 10,000 people would take days, Mr. Grant. My company has 7 transport ships within reach of Harmony, William said. I've already put them on standby. The governor looked at him with surprise and gratitude. Thank you. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. They spent the next few hours setting up a trap. Colony security established checkpoints at all spaceport docking bays. William's security team integrated with the local forces, providing advanced scanning equipment. Elizabeth worked with the colony's environmental scientists, explaining what she knew about the illegal terraforming technology. As night fell on the colony, Elizabeth stood at the window of the governor's office, looking out at the lights of the settlement. Small homes and farms spread across the gentle hills. People who had come here for a fresh start, a connection to the land. People now in danger. William joined her at the window. You should get some rest, he said quietly. You've been working for hours. I keep thinking about what will happen if we fail, Elizabeth admitted. All these people, we won't fail, William said with quiet confidence. The Aurora is just one ship. They're expecting to arrive unnoticed, drop off their cargo, and leave. They're not prepared for what's waiting. Elizabeth turned to face him. In the dim light of the office, William looked tired but determined. She realized how much pressure he was under, coordinating his ships, working with the governor, all while putting his own safety at risk. Why do you care so much? She asked softly. You've built an empire. You could live your life in luxury. Let others handle problems like this. William was quiet for a moment. When I started Grant Industries, it was just about making money. I was good at spotting opportunities, developing technologies, building better ships. He smiled faintly. But after what happened to my sister, I realized something. Wealth means nothing if you don't use it to protect what matters. He gestured to the colony outside. This matters. People living in balance with a new world, building something sustainable. The future we should all be working toward. Before Elizabeth could respond, Olivia burst into the room. Sir, we've detected a ship approaching. It's the Aurora. William's expression hardened. Sooner than expected, are we ready? Yes, sir. All teams in position. Governor Morgan entered, followed by Commander Fisher. They've requested permission to dock for routine cargo delivery. We've directed them to Bay 12 as planned. Perfect, William said. That's where we have our strongest scanner coverage. Elizabeth felt her heart racing. What if Captain Doyle recognizes me? He thinks I'm dead. William smiled grimly. That's actually an advantage. Your ghost appearance might shake him enough for us to see his reaction. I'll be there with you, Olivia assured her. No one will touch you. They moved to the spaceport security center where monitors showed every angle of docking bay 12. The Aurora was visible now, a bulky cargo vessel with faded paint, approaching the colony slowly. They're not running, Commander Fisher observed. That's good. They don't suspect anything. Over the communication system, they heard the exchange between Spaceport Control and the Aurora. Aurora, you are cleared for docking at Bay 12. Please, prepare for standard customs inspection upon arrival. There was a pause before a gruff voice responded. Understood, Harmony Control. Though we're just dropping off agricultural supplies, nothing special. Standard procedure, Aurora. Bay 12 is ready for you. William turned to Elizabeth. Is that Captain Doyle? Elizabeth shook her head. No. That's the first officer, Alan Reed. Doyle usually lets him handle routine communications. They watched as the Aurora docked smoothly at Bay 12. The external cameras showed the cargo bay doors opening and a ramp extending. 4 crew members emerged, looking around casually. That's Reed, Elizabeth said, pointing to a tall man with a beard. The others are regular crew. I don't see Doyle or the security team. They're being cautious, Olivia noted, sending expendable people first. Commander Fisher spoke into his comm. Inspection team, proceed as planned. Full scan of all cargo, on. The monitors they watched as colony security approached the Aurora crew. Reed handed over documents and pointed to some crates being unloaded. Normal agricultural supplies in those crates, Elizabeth said. That's not where they hide the illegal tech. William pressed a button on the console. Scanning team. Check. The hidden compartment behind the food storage units in Cargo Bay 3. The inspection team moved into the ship. Minutes ticked by in tense silence. Then one of the inspectors radioed back. Sir, we've found a hidden compartment, but it's empty. No containers matching the description. Elizabeth frowned. That's impossible. Where could they have moved them? Just then, an alarm blared through the security center. A different monitor showed a small shuttle launching from the far side of the Aurora. Second vehicle, Commander Fisher shouted. They had a shuttle docked on the blind side of the ship. William grabbed the comm. All teams, the terraforming tech is on that shuttle. Track and intercept immediately. Elizabeth watched in horror as the small shuttle accelerated away from the spaceport, heading toward the uninhabited side of the colony. There, she pointed suddenly. That's Captain Doyle piloting the shuttle. I recognize him. William turned to Olivia. Get our ship ready. We're going after them. The Artemis lifted off from the spaceport with stunning speed. Elizabeth gripped her seat as the ship tilted sharply, pursuing Captain Doyle's shuttle across the darkened landscape of Harmony Colony. William sat beside her in the cockpit, his hand steady on the controls. Olivia, what's our status? He called over his shoulder to his security chief, who was monitoring a tactical display. Colony defenses are trying to lock onto the shuttle, but Doyle is flying low through the hills. He's good, Olivia admitted grudgingly. And he's heading for the river basin, least populated area but most diverse ecosystem. The perfect place to deploy the terraforming tech for maximum damage. Elizabeth said. It would spread through the water system to the entire planet. William increased their speed, the ship's engines humming with power. Not if we stop him first. Through the view screen, Elizabeth could see the small shuttle ahead, skimming just above the treetops. Behind them, colony security ships were also in pursuit, but they were slower, not built for this kind of chase. He's descending, Olivia reported. Looks like he's preparing to land. William nodded grimly. So are we. The Artemis dropped altitude quickly, following the shuttle down to a clearing near a wide, fast-flowing river. Captain Doyle's shuttle touched down roughly, kicking up dirt and leaves. Activating ship security systems, William said, flipping several switches on the console. The Artemis will defend itself if anyone tries to damage it. They watched as two figures emerged from the shuttle. Captain Doyle was instantly recognizable to Elizabeth, tall and broad with a distinctive scar across his chin. The second man was carrying a large metal case. That's one of the terraforming containers, Elizabeth said, her voice tight. William turned to his security team. Olivia, take Johnson and Lee and circle around to cut off their escape route. Elizabeth and I will approach directly. He handed Elizabeth a small device. Keep this with you, it's a personal shield. Press the button if there's danger. Elizabeth took the device, surprised by his trust in her. I'm not trained for this. You know more about the technology than any of us, William replied. We need you. They exited the Artemis cautiously. The night air was cool and smelled of unfamiliar plants. 2 moons hung in the sky, casting blue-green light across the clearing. Olivia and her team disappeared silently into the surrounding trees. William and Elizabeth moved toward the shuttle, staying low and using the uneven ground for cover. They could hear Captain Doyle's voice now, harsh and impatient. Hurry up. Set the timer for 30 minutes. That gives us just enough time to reach the backup ship. The other man knelt by the riverbank, opening the metal case. Inside, a complex device glowed with an eerie blue light. William spoke softly into his communicator. All teams there at the riverbank preparing to deploy. Move in now. Suddenly, Captain Doyle looked up, his hand moving to his weapon. Who's there? He called out. Then his eyes fell on Elizabeth stepping from behind a boulder. His face went pale as if seeing a ghost. Carter? Impossible. You're dead. Elizabeth stepped forward, her fear replaced by anger. Sorry to disappoint you, Captain. Doyle raised his weapon, but before he could fire, William emerged beside Elizabeth, his own weapon aimed steadily. I wouldn't, William said calmly. Drop it, Captain. From the trees behind Doyle, Olivia and her team appeared, their weapons also drawn. The captain was surrounded. You have no idea what you're interfering with, Doyle snarled. This is bigger than all of us. I know exactly what I'm interfering with, William replied. Terra Nova's attempt to destroy this colony so they can rebuild it with their own technology and sell it to the highest bidder. The man by the river stood, reaching for a weapon, but Johnson from William's team fired a stun blast that dropped him instantly. It's over, Doyle, William said. Colony security is on their way. The Aurora has been seized. Your crew is in custody. Doyle's face twisted with rage. You think this changes anything? Terra Nova has people everywhere, in the government, in the military. They'll just send someone else. Maybe, William acknowledged. But not today. And not to Harmony. He gestured with his weapon. Now, drop yours. For a moment, Elizabeth thought Doyle would fight. Then slowly he lowered his weapon and dropped it to the ground. Olivia moved in quickly, securing Doyle's hands behind his back. Target secured, she reported crisply. William went to the terraforming device by the river, examining it carefully. Elizabeth, can you deactivate this safely? She knelt beside the case, studying the complex machinery inside. Yes, I think so. The activation sequence is only partially entered. Her fingers moved over the controls with careful precision. After a tense minute, the blue glow faded. It's done. Safe now. The sound of approaching ships filled the air as colony security arrived. Commander Fisher led a team down to the river, Bank taking custody of Doyle and the deactivated device. Mr. Grant, Fisher said with respect. Governor Morgan sends her thanks. Initial scans show no contamination in the ecosystem. William nodded. Good. Have your best scientists examine that device carefully. Make sure it's completely neutralized. As the security team led Doyle away, he glared at Elizabeth. You should have minded your own business, Carter. You have no idea what you've done. Elizabeth met his gaze steadily. I saved thousands of lives. I know exactly what I've done. Later, as dawn broke over Harmony Colony, Elizabeth stood on the observation deck of the Artemis, holding Maya. The baby was awake, watching the sunrise, with curious eyes. William joined them, looking tired but satisfied. Governor Morgan just confirmed that all Terra Nova operatives have been identified and taken into custody. The evidence on your datapad was crucial. What will happen to them? Elizabeth asked. They'll face trial for attempted ecological terrorism. The penalties are severe. William looked out at the colony, now peaceful in the morning light. Terra Nova will be investigated thoroughly. This wasn't a rogue operation. It came from the top. Elizabeth shifted Maya to her other arm. And what happens to us now? William turned to her, his expression softening. That's up to you. You're free to go wherever you wish. I can arrange transportation, new identification, a fresh start. And if I don't know where to go? Elizabeth asked quietly. William hesitated, then spoke carefully. Grant Industries has research facilities on several planets. Our botanical division on New Earth is doing groundbreaking work with hybrid ecosystems. They could use someone with your expertise. And Maya, there are excellent family support systems for employees, on-site childcare education programs. He smiled. She would be welcome. Elizabeth looked down at her daughter, then back at William. In just a few days, this man had saved their lives, brought justice to those who had hurt them, and now offered them a future. I think we'd like that, she said finally. A fresh start. William's smile broadened. I was hoping you'd say that. As the sun rose higher over Harmony Colony, Elizabeth felt something she hadn't expected to feel again after the captain's betrayal. Hope. Whatever came next, she and Maya were no longer alone in the universe. William touched her shoulder gently. Ready to go home? Elizabeth nodded, watching as Maya reached out a tiny hand toward William, who offered his finger for her to hold. Yes, she said. We're ready.